Hard times create strong men. Strong men create soft times. Soft times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. That's probably a saying that you heard recently. And this is a video about how we turn boys into men. But don't just take my word for it.
Men have to figure out what they have to do. And if they have nothing worth living for, then they stay Peter Pan.
And that is true on the battlefield, it is true in business, and it is true in life.
You know, friends, shit is getting real when the war veteran, ex-Marine, and the armchair philosopher, clinical psychologist both come to the same conclusion. This should be a good one. So let's get it. If you want to improve your life, if you want to get strong, you must first accept the harsh truth. Your life is your fault. The life you have today is the direct result of the decisions that you made or didn't make 6 to 12 months ago. If you are unhappy with your life, it's because you have problems and you're not solving them. This is not 100% true, of course. The ex-Marine Jocko Willink was in the heat of battle when he saw the world collapsing on top of himself. He looked around and he saw his brothers fighting fellow brothers, friends fighting friends. And in that moment, he could have easily pointed the finger and said, "You are to blame for this." He didn't though. In that moment, he realized what was happening was his fault. Jordan Peterson also came to the same conclusion after reading through the mythological stories like Peter Pan and Pinocchio. He also saw his clients recover from their trauma and put their lives together through this method. I believe the people who do great things, the people who change the world for the better, are the people who take extreme ownership and extreme responsibility over the things that happen in their lives. Don't get the wrong idea though. This does not mean that they beat themselves into a pulp after every mishap. They don't allow their negative force to spiral them downwards into a depressive mess. They simply acknowledge that their actions can influence the outcome. They are in control. And that is far more optimistic than any other alternative. Obviously, not everything that happens to you is your fault. Bad things happen all the time that are outside of your realm of control. But the paradoxical thing is, if you believe it is 100% your fault, you orientate yourself towards what you can do. And at least then you give yourself a fighting chance. That was the point of my video, what if your phone was not a distraction? The most common criticism I got for that was, society is bad, we're not responsible for it. Talking specifically about the attention crisis, your phone is a distraction, clearly. The apps, the internet, advertising are all designed to steal your attention. But I wanted to provide you an alternative perspective. A perspective where you realize, hey, I actually can change my outcome if I take responsibility for my problems. That's what this is about. Take responsibility for your problems, even if it feels like the world is against you. It's not completely your fault. But if you take responsibility for all of it, at least you've given yourself a chance. If you don't believe your 6-hour plus screen time is your fault, if you don't believe that's your problem, then here's a serious question for you. What are you going to do? Are you just going to sit there and wait for the evil corporations of the world to decide to make less money? Meanwhile, you feel miserable? Yeah, good plan. Good luck with that. This doesn't mean that governments and corporations get to shirk their responsibility either. Here's an example. I think we can all agree that smoking is a bad habit that destroys your health. So how did the government here in Australia address this problem? They didn't make it illegal. The government would never do that because here in Australia, the taxes on cigarettes are very, very high. That also makes the cigarettes here quite expensive. And as a reminder about the absolute filthy thing you're going to do, every packet must have something ugly on it. The result? In 1990, 21% of Australians were smokers. Today is 8%. The point is, no one physically came and stop these people from putting the cigarette into their mouths. The government recognized that smoking was a bad thing and it needed to change. They increased education and financially disincentivized the smoking of cigarettes, all in an attempt to get individuals to make better decisions for themselves. And ultimately, it came down to the individual saying, my bad habit of smoking is my fault and I'm going to change it. If any of the people who were smoking and didn't take responsibility for their problem, for their own behaviors, then they would still be smoking today, if they're not dead. The same is true for you, for anything that you want to do in your life. If you don't take responsibility for your problems and you wait for the world to change around you, then you will be waiting for the rest of your life. Meanwhile, people who take responsibility for their problems are going to leave you in the dust. There are 8 billion individuals in the world. Every time you take responsibility for yourself, you are making the world a better place. I would argue that you are morally obligated to take ownership of your life and to put it together to the best of your abilities despite whatever societal ills exist. People tend to forget that individuals are the Lego pieces that build a society. You are a part of it, and that is exactly the power that we have as individuals. The biggest companies in the world, Apple, Google, Amazon, they become the biggest companies because there are so many of us buying their products. Their products are targeted to the consumer. If we stop buying their products because it's not what we desire, then their company falls apart. At their peak, Kodak, a company specializing in film-based photography, was ranked the 4th most valuable company in the world, behind McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Disney. Then the digital camera was invented, and people really liked the convenience. Kodak didn't keep up with the changing preference of their customers, and they were left behind. Insurance companies only can afford to pay out claims because there are so many individuals who have premiums with them. Banks can afford to give out loans because there are so many individuals and companies who deposit with them. Lottery winnings get so high because there are so many people buying tickets hoping for a winner takes all result. It's these small decisions that you make with your money, with your time, and with your attention that makes a huge difference when it is repeated many times by many people. When you take responsibility for yourself, when you solve the problems you have in your own life, you will see improvements in your life first. And if many other people do the same, you will see improvements in society second. Individuals first, society second. You need to rearrange the Lego pieces before the building begins to take a different form. If we all took responsibility for our own lives and aimed at the problems we have by getting fitter and stronger, getting smarter and more competent, getting happier and wiser, then only God knows what we can do. I have been reading The Psychology of Money, and there's a paragraph in there that I just love. Over the last 170 years, between 1850 and 2020, the American economy rose from a GDP per capita of 5,000 to 70,000. But do you know what else happened during this period? Where do we begin? 1.3 million Americans died while fighting 9 major wars. Roughly 99.9% of all companies that were created went out of business. 4 US presidents were assassinated. 675,000 Americans died from a flu pandemic. 30 natural disasters killed at least 400 Americans each. 33 recessions lasted a cumulative 48 years. The number of forecasters who predicted those recessions rounds to 0. The stock market fell more than 10% from a massive high at least 102 times. Stocks lost a third of their value at least 12 times. Annual inflation exceeded 7% in 20 separate years. The words economic pessimism appeared in newspapers at least 29,000 times according to Google. Our standard of living has increased 20-fold in the last 170 years, yet barely a day went by that lacked disaster. When you invest in an ETF that tracks the market returns, like the S&P 500, you're not really investing in individual companies. What you're actually investing in is individuals who make up these companies to take responsibility over the problems they have and to develop as individuals. You are betting on humanity to do what needs to be done. You're betting on the individuals to develop themselves as individuals. I am betting on you to take responsibility of your life. I am betting on us to develop as individuals because collectively we can tackle any disaster that comes our way. We've seen this time and time again. So stop shirking your responsibility onto someone else. The world needs you to get your shit together. The world needs you. Bro, the world needs you. And I know, guys, little of this would be of any comfort if you are suffering and if you're in pain. But the question is, how do we get out of that position? Because the only option I see is to take responsibility for it and to do your best to solve that problem, because no one else is coming to save you. So if I have done my job, hopefully you're feeling at least somewhat inspired. Taking responsibility of your own life is your only option. But thankfully, it's also the least selfish thing that you can do. Because improving ourselves, developing as individuals, solving our own problems is how we add value to the world around us. So how do we take responsibility for ourselves? 1. Commit. Even if it's not 100% true, you need to believe that your life is your fault. Your problems are your problems, and only you can change the outcome. You need to make the decision that you're going to improve your life. You need to feel the pain and realize that you can change your outcome if you do what needs to be done. It's actually a bit of a cliche now, but it's still true. You don't walk into the gym and on your first day put 200 kilos on the bar and try to squat. You will kill yourself. First you learn the technique with just the bar, but as you get stronger and more confident, you gradually increase the weight. Personal responsibility is the same. It's the load that you lift. Not enough and your life has no meaning. But too much and the weight will crush you. Pick up the weight that takes you to the edge of what you can do, but no further. Start small and build up from there. It's the small wins that build positive momentum in your life to create big changes further down the track. Making your bed and cleaning your room may seem trivial, but it's not. You are putting the environment around you in order, decreasing the entropy as you put things in their right place. Look at your life. Search for the behaviors that you do that make your life worse. Focusing on the behaviors forces you to pay attention to the things that you can realistically change, instead of the uncontrollable outcome. Start at the easiest thing that you can address and build up from there. 3. Repeat. The thing about getting stronger in the gym is you have to do the same thing, the same movement hundreds of times before you see any sizable results. You need to take your muscle to the edge of what it can do and let it rest, so it can come back even stronger. Muscle growth is a stress response. It's the muscle adapting to a more stressful environment. As your muscle grows in size, the amount of stress you can apply to it also increases. The edge of what you can do expands. You're stronger. Take yourself to the edge of what you can do again and again and again, until it becomes easy. Then make it more stressful. As you get stronger, more capable, the amount of responsibility you can handle increases. No, the amount of responsibility you desire increases. You were once a boy who others were responsible for. Now you're a man who is responsible for others. You are responsible for yourself first, then your family, your colleagues, your community, and who knows what lies beyond. But it all starts with you. And when you become developed enough, you might make a video called What if your phone is not a distraction? And you'll be criticized for it. Others saying, well, it's easy for you. I'm joking. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you later. Peace.